Hey, Coach. Hunter Long, tight end for Boston College, has had two very productive games so far. What kind of challenge does he present for you guys, and how much will Jaquarius Conley have to deal with the tight end the way that they use him?
So is that your question for Jay Bateman, I would imagine, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Bateman was on there. I'm sorry. Okay, a question for you would be very simple. What have you seen from Boston College's defense? The first two games, they were pretty solid against Duke. And how much of what they're doing is what you saw Jeff Hafley do previously?
So at Duke, they had really one approach because of what Duke does. I think what they saw in Texas State is more similar to what they would see from us. Jake Peeler, their wide receiver at Ole Miss, is for me is now the offensive coordinator at Texas State. So there were a lot of similarities between what Texas State did against Boston College last week and some of the things that we do in our offense here. So it was good film for us. And I would also say that the game against Texas State brought out a few more things that BC has in the playbook. So, we saw more dime coverage, more to Tampa, and didn't necessarily see that against Duke. So the playbook opened up a little bit. We saw a couple new things from the second game. It's a very disciplined, it's a well-coached scheme. You're watching Ohio State play in the same type of system. And so that's really the defense that we're facing on Saturday against Boston College.
All right, I wrote down Jay's name and not yours. That's why I asked that first question. Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chapel Fowler, you're up next.
Hey, Coach. In your career, when you have three really established receivers, like you do now with Danny, Daz, and Bo, how do you try to work in younger guys and backups to keep them fresh?
Well, that's an interesting question. There's really a standard in every room, but interestingly enough, in the receiver room, it's probably the most important outside of the O-line to have great depth. And the reason for that is we do throw the football a little bit and we cover a lot of ground. Even when we run the football, there are times where we're running routes. So it's good for us to develop depth because, in my opinion, I think in our opinion, De'Ami Brown playing 60 reps as opposed to playing 85, he's going to be a lot fresher. And in our experience in the past, having a guy like A.J. Brown or D.K. Metcalf or one of those guys at Ole Miss, when their total numbers in a game dropped, their production actually went up. And it's because they were fresher and they were better players on each of those downs. And so when we're able to spell Daz Newsome or De'Ami Brown or Bo Corrales with guys like Antoine Green and Josh Downs and Toe Groves and Emery Simmons, all of whom we have great confidence in right now, those guys coming in, they may not be the every down starter, but at 100%, they're probably better than the starter is at 75 or 80%. So it gives us an opportunity to not have to change what we do at all, not call play because somebody out there is tired. And the depth at wide receiver really is the number one thing outside of the O-line that's going to allow us to maintain staying in our tempo if we want to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Greg Barnes, go ahead.
Hey, Phil, I know Mac is kind of the main one that deals with hype and expectations for the players, but I'm just kind of curious from your standpoint with the offense. There's a lot of expectation out of those guys that they should be very good this year. Do you have to address that at all in terms of not letting them get too high or too low if they don't play as well as they think?
Well, I always make a comment a lot, and I think it gets misconstrued sometimes, but I really would love for our players on offense to play the game with a lot of enthusiasm, not necessarily a lot of emotion. And I know that goes against what everybody thinks, an emotional game. But when you have emotional highs and emotional lows in a game, it affects the way you play. I think there's nothing wrong with playing with tremendous or great enthusiasm. But somewhere along the emotional realm, you can get off track from a focus standpoint. We don't want to do that. So we want to play with with great enthusiasm. We also need to play with great focus so that you don't have the highs and lows in the games. And I think that helps keep us from making the mental mistakes that we're trying to avoid. You know, and it's obviously harder to think fast when you're playing fast. I mean, we're not giving them a lot of time to think. You know, we want to snap the ball in X amount of time, and we want to push the ball up the field and want to spread the defense, and we want to do it quickly. And I think, you know, that lends to the depth that we just talked about at the receiver position. But it also lends to the simplicity on the offense with regards to not forcing our guys to have to overthink on every down. You can't ask them to play fast and ask them to think a lot too. I don't think they don't go hand in hand at all. And so that's kind of our approach, and it's really, that's not going to change as the entire season goes on.
All right, and then a follow up on a different topic. Before the Syracuse game, we talked about the offensive line, and at that time, I think you said you had probably 6 guys that you really trusted, maybe 7. How has that position group developed over these last couple of weeks without having a game?
You know, not playing the last couple of weeks is it's when we step on the field at BC, it will be 9 weeks of practice, having only played 1 game. So that's never the favor, right? But what the last 2 weeks has given us is an opportunity. Q has gotten better, and we have great confidence in him up front now. He's 2 weeks better than he was. Jonathan Adorno improves every single day, so we feel better and better about Jonathan. And then Easy is back now and playing. So we're starting to get closer to that 8-man rotation that we want on the offensive line. And, you know, it's probably a situation that we're much better at right now than we were going into the Syracuse game.
Thanks, Phil.
Aaron Beard, go ahead.
Hey, Phil, Aaron Beard with the AP. You sort of just touched on this about the 9 weeks and 1 game. I'm curious, how much do you think this time period may affect timing, like in the passing game? And Mac has made such a point of saying, well, you're having to start the season over. Is there any way to take that experience from the game week and build on it? Or is it, like he said, totally new?
So I'll steal an answer from Sam Howell because I agree with what he said. He was asked the same question. I think it helps the timing. I mean, you know, we lost a lot of reps in spring ball, and we didn't even get all of the player-led workouts in the summer. You know, the players didn't get through as many as they normally do in the summer. So what you lose are those timing reps. And you know, that's why I was so impressed with how Mississippi State played against LSU, because they've had so few reps doing what they do in the passing game, much like we do. And I thought a lot of the timing was there a lot more than I kind of expected watching that game, since it's the same passing game. So, but what we've had 9 weeks to throw all these reps and work on the timing and work on the trigger time and the strike points and the route technique. So I think we're going to benefit on that end of it. I think where you lose out is the physicality against another opponent. You know, our guys are tired of hitting our guys, and we're also not, you know, we're not in a game-like situation. And as much as you try to imitate a game-like situation in practice, it just isn't the same. So the physicality part of it, which we were happy about in the Syracuse game, but the physicality part of it after long breaks, typically there's a greater deficit there than there is in the timing, doing some of the skill stuff that we do in the system.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, that's all we got for you today. Thanks for your time.
All right, you'll have a good one.